For it.
Let me. Hello, my dear listener. This is Krystine, the Beauty Pro coach, and on the Beauty Pro podcast. And I am here with Miss Natalie Wood.
Hi,
And she is here. I'm so excited. Natalie, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and your salon is a top 200, isn't it?
it is. It is.
It
I need to resubmit again this year because I haven't done it in a couple years because it's such a process. But yes, we got top 200 in culture, and something else I forgot, but definitely in culture. But I want to resubmit, and because it's always so fun, to
Mhm.
just. And then of course you go to the whole celebration. You get to meet all the other salon owners. It's awesome, awesome experience. But anyway, yep, I'm Natalie. I own Click Salon in Houston,
Woo
just like you said. That's my name.
woo.
And I've been doing it for 22 years. And, like you and I just talked about before we started recording, is, what's so cool is you and I don't do hair.
Mm-mm. We do
And so,
not. Surprise,
yeah,
surprise, everybody.
yep.
Oh my
So,
goodness. So share how you fell into this business. Like, was it a family thing? Were you just like, ooh, a salon for sale? Like, how did this happen?
yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be very unique to just all of a sudden wake up one day and go, I want to own a salon, but not do hair. So obviously, I just kind of fell into it.
Mm.
So I got married at 23, super young. Don't do it. Highly do not recommend getting married that young. Yeah, did you
Past
do the
that
same
time.
thing?
Past that time. No, I'm
Oh,
still
okay.
I'm still single and ready to mingle, guys.
Oh, okay. So you're just opposite. You actually waited. Good for you.
I did. I missed my first divorce, so it's good.
Uh, good for you. Well, hopefully you won't have one.
I know.
Anyway, so I had just gotten my undergrad in psychology, and I was kind
Mhm.
of, what do I do? Because there's really not a whole lot of just, wide options to do with an undergrad in psych. Anyway, so I met my ex-husband in a hair salon. He was a stylist, and he cut my hair. And I should have known that it wasn't going to work out because the first time he cut my hair, I cried
Oh no.
because he like cut it all off, and it wasn't his fault. To be fair to him, it wasn't his fault. It just was one of those I wasn't ready for what I thought I was ready
Mm.
for.
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm just saying that was a sign. Um, but anyway, long story short, we got married and we moved to Houston. We lived in a very small town, a couple hours away from Houston. Moved to Houston because I wanted to go to grad school here, and he was talking about wanting to open a salon. And I was like, well, why don't we, just kind of, I have my undergrad in psych, so I can kind of do the people management aspect, and you do the hair, and let's
Mhm.
we'll open the salon together. So that's how I got into it. And I really planned on it being a short term thing. And I knew that it was for me when I went ahead and went to grad school. And I remember sitting in classes, and the whole time, all I could think about was how to grow the business,
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, this clearly is the direction I need to go in because it's, my obsession. And so that's how I got started. And then, down the road, obviously, divorce, et cetera. And, I was just still so passionate. It just grew and grew. And, I said, I want the business. That's what I want. And he was kind of not really into it anymore. So, that's how I ended up where I am.
Look at you, girl. We're getting divorced? Yeah. Okay, I want the business. I
Hmm.
don't want the house. I want the business.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that was my thing. I said I
I
want the
love it.
business, and I want my son. And like I joke, but I don't joke, in the sense
Hmm.
of I get what I want. And that doesn't mean that, I just lay back. I go after it. And I knew like those are the two things I want. Like those are the two things that are really important to me. And so I got them both.
Whoop whoop.
Yep.
Hello.
Here we are.
Winners. We're winners.
Yes, we
Um,
are.
so so how did that go for you? Not being a stylist, not growing up in the business, like you literally like fell into this. How did you get a staff and to be like a 200 rated a top 200 salon? Like how did you go from there to there?
Well, a lot of work.
Mhm.
right? A whole lot of work. I think I base everything on the foundation of relationships.
Mhm.
And that was just my thing from day one was if you build the relationship, and a relationship doesn't mean you have to go have dinner and drinks every weekend. That's not what I'm saying at all. I mean, if that happens, great. But so everything was relationship, relationship, relationship. And then I would springboard off of that. And, that's a really simple answer. If I, obviously there's so many things that go into building, you know, a top 200 team or just a team in general. There's so many salons out there that would easily be in the top 200. They just don't apply, whatever, but
Mhm.
have great teams and relationships first. Everything else will follow. Everything, because you can't talk about numbers, you can't influence, you
Mm.
can't do anything if the relationship isn't there. And when I say relationship, obviously that has to be built on trust, mutual trust, respect. And once you have that foundation of relationship, everything else just follows. It's my
I
belief
love
anyway.
No, I love that. That is, at least for me, that's like been a big part of my salon and even this podcast is just
Mm.
collaborating with people,
Yes,
connecting,
collaboration, absolutely. Hmm.
like
And it's
we're not an island.
No, we're not. And it's your team I love that you just said collaborate. And you also on one of your podcasts, or it might even be on your bio, you talk about empowering.
Mm,
So I'm huge on collaboration, empowering, and it's not you don't work for me. We work together. We work
mhm,
with each other. We co-brand everything is together. And and that's just so important as you collaborate with your team. You don't tell them, oh, you do this and this and this and this because I said it's collaboration. And yes, sometimes you have to make those final decisions as the owner,
mm,
but as much as possible, get their input, hear what they have to say, ask them, I'm sure you do the same thing, but I love collaboration. I love how you empower people. That's another thing. I empower them as much as I can to actually, give me ideas, thoughts to grow the business. And
mhm.
that way the business isn't just grown by me, it's by them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
100%. Earlier today I was talking to somebody and I said, and it's been resonating with me all day, like, as an owner, as a leader, it's my job to make sure that my team feels like they're fulfilled. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
absolutely.
Like they're
Mhm.
living their life purpose and their dream with
Yep.
me. Like if they're
Mhm.
not doing that, then I'm not doing my job, like I failed, you know?
Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, one of the things I love to say is, you know, I don't take care of our guests. The
Mm.
team takes care of our guests. My guests, my clients are them.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, I
so
like that.
that's kind of how it operates. And of course, it doesn't mean I never talk with a guest or deal with a guest issue. But
Mhm.
overall, 90% of my time is spent with the team. They're my clients. And so it's what do you need? What can I do for you? How are you? And then if that is done well, then they take care of the clients coming in the door.
Mm,
So that's kind of like the pyramid that I like to,
I love it.
use that analogy.
Yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
so we were talking just before we hit record about getting hate for
Mhm.
not being a licensed beauty pro, right?
Mhm.
So, how have you come back? Like, how have you overcome the haters?
Well, I ignore them. That's what my social
Yes.
media person has taught me to just ignore it. Uh, and I like to let my results speak for themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But obviously, someone that doesn't believe in that concept, of, more power to you. If you want to work in a salon that is owned by someone that is a licensed cosmetologist, no judgment. Clearly, they're not working at our salon, or it wouldn't be a good fit. But I have found that first off, vast majority they don't anyone that comes to interview with us, and they don't even know. A lot of times they have no idea if I do hair or not. In fact, it's funny, a lot of people that come and work with us don't even know till months later, because they'll be like, wait, you don't do hair? I'm like, no, and so it's not really an issue because they just come in and have built such an amazing education team. I'm sure if you don't do hair, then obviously you have to hire people that are really good at teaching hair. And I think this whole thought process of, if you're going to own a business, you have to do whatever it is that business is. No one else would think that about a car wash or a restaurant, or so you're not in the kitchen every day, then I'm not going to that restaurant. Or wait, you're not there washing cars every day, well, I'm not going there. It's not about that. It's all about can you take care of people, and can you hire the right people to do what either you can't do or don't want to do.
Mm. It's the ultimate form of delegation right there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay,
Yeah.
so now what do you say to those stylists? Like, let this be a teaching moment for everybody. What do you
Mhm.
say to those stylists that are like, "Oh, you're the owner, you're just getting rich off of us," or you're like a pimp. I had a beauty pro tell me that one day who worked for me. She's like, "You're like a pimp. You just like push your girls out and and they make
Mhm.
you money. You're a madam." And I was like,
Mhm.
that's funny, but it wasn't a good thing. So, what do
No,
you say?
that's really funny, because I've had people joke that exact same analogy. And,
Okay.
I just kind of like, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Um, but as far as, let's see, how do I actually handle that? I think that the only way you can handle that is, once again, kind of ignore the haters. But if it really is a legit issue,
Mm.
um, I find that the best way is just educate people, educate. And once people are truly educated, and I say educate, I'm not talking about someone on social media or some stranger that just wants to make a comment. But if someone on my team, actually thinks that, then obviously, yeah, I'm going to educate them about that. And, one of the things that I'm so proud of, and, this was like super early on, it was, make sure that you have a lot of people on your team that have homes and that drive nice cars before you do. You know,
Oh.
that way it's like you once again, the results kind of speak for themselves. So if you have everyone driving beat up cars and, barely making rent, and then you're out, living in a mansion and driving a super expensive, yeah, that's not going to go over well, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of go back to education and just
Mhm.
the results, speak for themselves. And so people just kind of know, like, wow, like they all own their homes, or they all drive nice cars, anyone that's been there, 4 years plus. And so they kind of realize, okay, it's, you're not just pimping them out. So I don't know. That's that. How do you handle it?
Well, when I got that first analogy, I mean, I laughed, and this was early on
Yeah.
when early on in my salon ownership days, and I laughed, and I was like, "Yeah."
Hmm.
Now, if
Yeah.
they would have,
Yep. Same.
like, because what do you do? You're like, "Yeah, that's really
Hmm.
legit,"
Hmm.
Now I feel like if somebody told me that, I'd be like, "Yeah, it's similar, but you know what? We're here as a team." Like, I would
Yep.
totally reframe it because
Mm.
it's not that. Like, I'm
No.
not pimping you out to make me
Mhm.
rich like a madam
Right.
would. I'm here with you. We're
Right.
in this
Right.
together so that we can both grow.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. It's a
oh
together
yeah.
thing. Once
Oh
again,
yeah.
everything's collaboration. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Okay. So now because I don't know, I know I did. I had to learn so much. I had to learn
Hmm.
about commission structures. I had to learn about people. I had to learn, um, between colors and cuts and all of that. What did you, especially like the pay structure and the bones of the
Hmm.
business,
Hmm.
how did you learn with that? Like, did you hire people or?
Yeah, all these questions, it's so hard for me to not be like, okay, you tell me first. Because it's like, I want to get everything from you, because that's just my personality. No, you tell me. But I know that obviously isn't the point.
I will definitely share, but
Okay, okay,
I did
good.
ask.
So, I was so thrown into it. And, I will tell anyone. I was actually we have one-on-one monthly meetings with every individual team member. And I was talking with one the other day, and I said, I have zero problems admitting I had no fucking clue what I
Mm,
was doing. like no fucking clue. You know, I don't know if you felt that
Yes,
way looking
yes,
back,
it did.
but I'm
Yes.
just like, it's almost embarrassing. Like, how did we even make it? Because
Yeah.
no fucking clue.
Yes.
Um, so, you know, I really, I use the word education a lot. That's so important to me. And so I just educated the hell out of myself. I went to every conference. This was, you know, well, they still have serious business, but
Mhm.
serious business at the time I had never heard of. And so I remember going to my first serious business conference and I was like, oh my God, you know, and so, you know, in 22 years, we've changed a lot. Partly because we've just learned better ways, and partly because the industry changes and you have to change along with it.
Yeah.
But trial and error and education, like I just dove into it. And so when I say education, that means, you know, tons of mentors, you know, not, I didn't have any one specific person as in like a coach, like what you do. I don't even think they had that back then. You know, if they did, I didn't know about it anyway. So just figured it out, you know, and like I said, looking back, I'm like, how in the hell did we do it? But I'm going to go back to relationships and being open to ideas. And when we heard of a new, better way, or someone else had an idea, I mean,
Yeah.
not that we automatically did it, but very open to it. And so, yeah, just
Yeah.
educate. And
I'm
I still do it.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Like
Tell me, how did you do it?
when we oh my God, so much trial and error. I look back and there's that conversation of like toxic salon owners.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's kind of what happened. Like it's like an
Mhm.
initiation. You can't
Yeah.
run a salon without being toxic at some point. And
Mhm.
so yeah, when
I
it
would agree with that. Yeah.
like, it's embarrassing at this point,
Mhm.
but now I use it because
Mhm.
it's true. So
Mhm.
now when it came to commissions and stuff,
Mhm.
man, at that time in the industry, I think everybody was like freeballing it
Oh, yeah.
and they had
You
no
just threw
idea.
out a number. You just threw it out.
Yes. Yes,
Whatever.
we did. We were like,
Yeah.
that sounds good. So
Uh-huh.
we tried
Yeah.
it and then when we tried to change it, that was tough. And then
Yep.
we got educated. We found a coach. It was a
Mhm.
very new concept.
Mhm.
Um, and we kind of stuck with that for a little bit. And then we got an accountant that actually was
Mhm.
teaching us. And then
Mhm.
we got another person. And then we were just
Mhm.
learning as we went.
Mhm.
And now we're like, oh,
Yep.
okay. It takes time.
It
It
takes
takes
time. And
time.
how long have you guys been in business? How long have you been?
Probably around this, along the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think too, one of the things that I love to do, and I still do it. I obviously don't need to do it as much now, but I would like take a little bit of from this person or a little bit from this conference. I'm sure you've heard of strategies, like when they were like
Yes.
really popular. I'm not saying they're not anymore. I don't really, I just don't know. And I remember going to like a strategies conference, and then, you know, I would just pull a little bit because I was
Mhm.
never one, I'm never just going to jump on a bandwagon of like anyone, just not my thing.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be you know, a specific salon, like a, you
Uh-huh.
know, name brand salon, like someone
Yeah.
else's name brand. I want to be click salon. So I would just like take a little bit here and a little bit there and like create our own recipe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what we ended up doing too. Because everybody has their own strengths,
absolutely.
especially with the brands. There's one brand
Mm-hmm.
that's great for this and another for that, and you can't just give your all. At least
No,
that's for me in my own personal life too.
that
Like
same.
I love all the things. I'll go horseback riding, I'll go
Mm-hmm.
mudding, I'll go to the beach, I'll go to the mountains, and I love it all. I can't
Mm-hmm.
just pick one.
Yeah, yeah. And that just goes back to like versatility. I think to be a really good owner of, to me, of anything, you have to be versatile. You have to be open-minded. You have to try so many things and know that, you know, there's a very high failure rate with certain things too. When to tweak things, when to quit things, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
now what's a struggle you're going through right now?
Hmm. It's such a good one. Right now. Okay, I mean, I say, yeah, okay, pretty easy.
Okay.
So, you know, and tell me if you can relate to this.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like in a sense you are kind of doing it, but just in a different way. So right now, my biggest struggle is what to do next.
Mm,
So you know, you have your, you know, salon and spa, correct?
Hmm.
That you
Yep.
own? Okay. And so obviously now you're coaching, you're doing podcast. And so, you know, I'm trying to decide, okay, do I want to expand, you know, the brand? Do I want to create more salons, right? Because we could easily do that.
Mm.
We're, you know, we're ready if we wanted to do that. So do I want to do that? I know for me, one-on-one coaching, you know, isn't what I want to do because I feel like I do that every day in the salon. So
Yeah.
I don't know
You're
if you
like,
feel
I'm
that.
good. I'm good with
So
that.
yeah, you know, I have people DM me and, you know, they're like, you know, do you do one-on-one coaching? And I'll send them your way from here on out.
Go
Um,
ahead, bring them over.
because it's just not my, you know, it's once again, I do it all day long. So I
Yeah.
want to have a little bit more versatility. So it's just kind of trying to decide like, what is that next step? What does that look like for me? Because, you know, once you have been doing what we do for so long, you know, I'm ready to take on a new challenge.
Yeah.
And it's not like every day a challenge doesn't present itself, but something, you know, I need to do something different, but yet still in the industry to take that next growth step.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been
What
there every
yeah.
once in a while. I get like I have a little pity party and I'm
Hmm.
like, "Oh my God." And I get so crazy trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But then like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Hmm.
okay, it'll come to me when the time is right. I just gotta
Yeah.
keep going.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel that.
And how long have you been a coach? Because I'm assuming you kind of took that pivot at some point. You kind of felt the same way as in, okay, listen, what else do I want to do next? Like, how long have you been a coach, or when did you take that pivot?
I think I've been a coach probably about 7 or 8 years now.
Wow. Okay.
And like time really flies
Hmm.
because to be a coach, first of all, to have a business, that's the
Hmm.
ultimate form of personal development. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you need to be
Absolutely.
right up here. And
Hmm.
then when I when I
Yes,
was
you do.
yeah, because you're leading people. And then
Hmm.
to be a coach, I had to go through everything I put my coaching clients through so that
Hmm.
I could be prepared. And
Hmm.
so every good thing takes time,
Hmm.
and it's hard.
Absolutely.
It's
Hmm.
hard, but then you get it and you're like, "Oh, all
Hmm.
right, cool."
Yeah. What made you
Yeah.
decide to do the coaching? Were you just ready to do something different?
I was going right through what you're going through.
Yeah.
Like I was looking for something and I was like,
Hmm.
"Man, I got to do something." I was
Hmm.
depressed. I
Yeah.
gained weight. I was
Hmm.
like, "Okay, this I got to do something."
Hmm. And I love the fact that you created your own brand of coaching, and nothing against people that coach for another company. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But you know, major respect that you were like, I'm gonna like literally create my own brand of coaching. And, you know, I think that's really awesome.
Thank you for recognizing that because that's
Hmm.
one of my things with all business. Like, I am a firm believer in finding something and building it from
Yep.
the ground up. I
Hmm.
love sponsorship. So if
Absolutely.
you want to sponsor me, sponsor me. But
Yeah.
I love being able to like
Mm.
go from the ground up and make something and really say, I built this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that shows you obviously wouldn't be where you are if you didn't love that. I mean, I don't think you could really be a true entrepreneur and not love to do that. There's just a certain satisfaction. And then, yeah, when you reach a certain point, you're like, okay, I've done this. What's next? You know, what can I
Mm-hmm.
build next? What can I create next?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
who are your top three most influential people, whether they're in the industry or just in your life or both?
Mm. I mean, I remember my first Tony Robbins seminar that I went to. So I have to say, you know, not, I mean, currently you know, not that into him, but I mean, as far as making an impact on me initially, huge.
Yeah.
Uh, I still remember, you know, have you ever been to one of his conferences?
I haven't, but everybody tells me to go and I always miss it. I always find out about it after the
Mhm.
fact. So I
I
gotta do it.
yeah, I mean, I recommend it. I mean, I say that I think it kind of depends on where you are, but at
Mhm.
the time, you know, I just loved it. And he like actually taught me that it's okay to say fuck. And
Yeah.
you know, because I was like, oh well, you know, that's just not professional, or, you know, and once I started like thinking about it, I'm like, that's just such a false belief that someone put in my head at some point. And not saying that you have to say fuck, but it's like, if you want to say fuck, you know, it's
That's
like,
so
so,
funny.
you know, I went through like a 1 year period to where I was like, fuck. And they were like, Natalie, like, chill. And, you know, I had to like get all my fucks out, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, he was huge and just making me realize that I had so many, you know, false belief systems that I
Yeah,
thought were real, but just, you know, they're given to us obviously by, you know, adults in our life and
sure.
when we're children. So he was definitely huge. Uh Brene Brown,
Love her.
obviously, like, you know, when it comes to, you know, all the emotions and, you know, empathizing and vulnerability and authenticity. I mean, that's my big thing is live your free, right? And so
Mhm.
love her. In fact, I can't wait for her next book to come out. I'm like, come on. And you know, she's from Houston. She lives in Houston.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I would love to have her as a client in the salon, but you know, obviously I'm not gonna like, you know, stalk her
We're not
because
gonna push
it'd be
it, but
weird.
you know, go to click.
Uh-huh.
Renee.
Yep. If you listen to this by any chance, Renee, you know, come into the salon. But yeah, as far as I know she, you know, last I heard lived in Houston, from Houston. I think she still does, not sure, but anyway,
I love it.
she's huge. And then just off the top of my head, I also have to say like Glennon Doyle.
Oh, I don't know who they are.
Like Glennon Doyle, it's like one person, like
Oh,
Glennon
it
Doyle,
sounded like it sounded like
like
Hall and Oates.
Glennon. Oh my God, that's so funny. Like
I'm
I
like
thought,
Glennondale. Who are they?
Glennon Doyle. So you know Abby Wambach, like the soccer
Yeah.
champion. So that's her wife. So Glennon and Abby are married. They
Oh,
have an amazing podcast.
oh, I gotta
Um,
listen.
it's like one of her phrases is "We can do hard things" or something like that.
Oh, okay.
You want to talk about like empowerment, especially, you know, female empowerment. Glennon is great story, and we have very similar stories, like personal stories. So love her. But yeah, I love to read. I love podcasts, all this kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
there's, you know, I remember one time I had this false belief that, oh, we'll have to have an actual, you know, mentor, like someone I'm friends with, right? Like someone that I can see
Mm,
every day. And someone said, well, that's not true. Like there's thousands of mentors out there. Like just
yeah.
go, like go buy books, go to conferences, podcasts, whatever, you know, YouTube.
Mhm.
And it really opened my mind to, you know, there's lots of options out there.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
yeah.
yeah. It's like opening your heart and then you get
Hmm.
all of this information when you let
Hmm.
go of that thing. Like you're like white knuckling it. You're like, no,
Hmm.
no. And then you're like, oh, there's so much for me.
So much. And you know, it's just kind of like what you were saying earlier is we are right where we need to be. And if we would just, you know, let go more then and be okay with that, you know, the people, the mentors, the coaches that we really need are going to come into our life when it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, who's your favorite? If you had to name one
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh. Off the top of my head right now, probably the most influential person would be actually my personal coach, relationship
Mm.
coach. Her name is Dr. Morgan Anderson. Actually, she's on the podcast.
Really?
Yes, go check her out.
Okay.
She like
Now,
Valentine's Day episode.
is she like a life coach or is she a salon
She
coach?
is actually a clinical psychologist.
Okay.
And for my personal life, but I was like, oh my God, I need her to come on here because, like
Hmm.
you have already experienced, marriage and divorce in our industry is
Hmm.
it is rampant. So I had her come
Yeah.
on. But
Hmm.
she really changed my life. And who I am today is
Hmm.
totally different than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, full of limiting beliefs, full of relationship
Hmm.
dark clouds. And
Yep.
oh, I love her so much. So she,
Hmm.
off the top of my head, she's like my favorite person ever.
Okay. I'll definitely have to listen to
Check
that
her
podcast.
out. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I will.
But as a salon owner, how do you, as the leader, how do
Hmm.
you nourish yourself?
Hmm. 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 You ask really good questions,
Thank
you know?
you. Thank
And just
you.
so everyone knows, she clearly gave me no heads up on these questions. So I think I'm doing pretty good winging it here.
This is
So
raw. This is so
yeah,
raw,
and
and I
I
love it.
love it. I love it because, when you have time to prep these answers, sometimes they can be so inauthentic.
Mm,
But how do I nourish myself? I'm just gonna have to say that I go through phases of where I'm really good at nourishing myself. And so when I am, doing really good, it's obviously, it's all the things you hear about. And I feel like even saying them, they sound so cheesy, but meditation, you know, eating healthy. I'm a big believer in therapy,
mm.
clearly. And I think everyone can benefit,
Yes, thank
clearly,
you.
you just, we're talking about, who influenced you the most was a literal, psychologist, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So therapy, been going for several years now. And before that, I would go on and off. So, just reading. And when I say reading, I know a lot of people in our industry are like, oh, I hate reading books. I don't mean if that's your thing, okay, fine. You don't have to pick it up and read it. It's like there's so many things you can, do audiobooks, podcasts, YouTubes, just something out there to nourish. Definitely like there is no such thing as balance. I don't believe in that. I don't believe you're ever going to find this perfect balance. So there's definitely times to where, I'm not nourishing myself as much. So it's more of just being self-aware of, wow, I am just like burnt out. I'm worn out. I have to take time for myself and learning to be okay with that and not be so judgmental. And the shame
Mm,
word, that I know if you've been in therapy, you realize how much shame we put on ourselves, for so many things that we shouldn't. And so it's just realizing like, hey, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to, binge Netflix if you need to. It's more about just, is that becoming a lifestyle that's preventing you, from being your best self. But those are definitely my things. I mean, exercise, I, once again, not like super consistent, but I love to just go and walk in nature, which I don't really
yes.
consider that exercise for your body, but it's so good for your mind.
Mhm.
But when I do exercise, I'm like such a VR fan. Do you have you
Yes.
done like the Oculus,
Yes. I
And I
have an
love
uncle
it.
doing that right now, actually.
Okay, I love it. So that is the number one exercise that I've been able to stay consistent with out of everything is I get on there and there's a game called Supernatural and I just love it. And so I put on my headset and like go to town and do my little boxing and lightsabers and
I
it's a
love
good
it.
workout. So,
Like
yeah.
somebody looking in would be like, "What the hell
Oh yeah, it's
is
crazy.
happening?"
It's crazy. Have you played it before? Like any of
I
it?
haven't. I
Oh,
have
you have
not.
to. You have to. I'm not saying get supernatural, but you have to at least like just experience it because it's so fun. Like there's so many just fun games. Yeah, you got to try it.
Okay, I will try it. I will try it, and
Mhm.
I will get back to you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
I
or
will.
have someone take a video of you. That's like even
That's
better.
probably the
Send,
best.
send that to me. That's the
Yeah,
best.
okay. Alright. So, from going to school to be a psychologist to working
Mhm.
in the salon industry, there's lots of life lessons,
Oh my
okay?
God. Yeah.
Um, what is a life lesson that you have learned from the beauty industry that you wish everybody and their mother would learn it and do it?
You said a life lesson?
Yeah.
Hmm. I would just have to say that you never know what people are going through. And
Oh.
so just be kind. Just be
Mhm.
kind because most people will walk in that door and they will put a smile on their face. And, you know, once you start talking to them, if you're good at actually asking the right questions and getting them to open up, man, the things I've seen and heard and experienced, over 22 years, and you would never know,
Yeah.
is just be kind. And, I talk with my team all the time. We even talked about it today. We had our team meeting and it was just one of our parts of our clicked experience is care, just
Mm.
care. And the only way you can care is by realizing that just because they look okay doesn't mean they are. Or if it's that client that isn't the nicest, you have no idea what they're going through. not that in any way, we would ever allow a client to be, abusive or things like that. But just because they're not like the nicest or, the easiest, just be kind. One of the exercises I do in our meeting is I I ask everyone, and I'm like, how many people in here right now? And we have about 30 team members right now. So it's a good number to show this example. How many people in this room right now have been through depression, anxiety, or are currently going through it? And you have almost 100% of them raise their hands.
Mm.
And so when you see that, it's like, okay, we need to remember that when these people are walking in the door, that we don't know what they're going through. Just be kind.
Yeah. Oh, that is such a good thing. And I feel like more owners and even just beauty and barber pros, like we need to remember that.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard when you see people day in and day out, especially if they're bitchy or, it's not easy. I'm not saying that. It's super
Mhm.
easy for the nice ones, right?
Right.
But yeah, if we would just remember that, I think we'd be a lot more understanding and let go of a lot more, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah. What is what's something in your area of expertise, whether psychology or the salon, that no one agrees with you about?
Gosh, I really like you. Like, I think I am this first on podcast. I'm like so good at asking questions. So it's like when people ask really good questions to me, I'm like, ooh, that's like I'm impressed
Thank you.
because yeah, really impressed. So something that no one agrees with me on. I mean, that's really hard. Like, you mean no one in the salon
It could
agrees with
be
me
the
on?
salon, it could be the
Just
salon, it
anyone.
could be your life, anybody about anything.
This is funny. I love Britney Spears and I love her music, and everyone makes fun of me when I put on my Britney Spears in the salon. They're like, oh my God, Natalie turned her music on. Um, but clearly that's just a salon thing because a lot of people like, old Britney Spears music. I see.
It's Britney Spears. She's the answer.
Yeah. I, as far as something that no one agrees with me on, and I'm going to say why this is so hard for me is because I am so, or I try to be so open-minded. I can tell you like a most recent one,
Okay.
but I just changed it. So that's why I'm like, oh, damn, like it's hard. So, you know, as the industry changes, as, I get older, you know, I just let go of more and more control because when you try to control everything and everyone, it just stresses you out, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So, you know, I would have to say for the longest time, people definitely didn't agree with me about dress code in the salon. And I know that's like, we don't even want to touch that, right? Because, I would, we started out with like a dress code with, this big, like this many rules. And now it's like, two statements, but that just happened. I mean, down to two. Obviously, we would slowly,
Right, right,
um,
right.
slowly minimize it and have like less and less. But that's like the first thing that comes to my mind is, people in the salon, they'd always like, well, we should be able to do this or that or this or that. And, finally I was like, fuck it. Like, I don't have the energy to walk in here and be like, are you wearing a ponytail holder or not? Like, I have to just let go of that shit because it's driving me fucking insane. There's no
Yes.
benefit to it. There really isn't. Obviously influence and educate on, how you present yourself, how it, influences, the guests and the clients. But yeah, that's probably the most recent to where, I would just have to stand really firm as in like, no, guys, this is because you want everyone to look great, right? So it got to the point to where you would have people, and this is what really opened my mind. You'd have people that were in dress code and looked like shit, And then you'd have people that were out of dress code that looked amazing.
Oh, wow.
And so how can you really, how can you deal with that? You can't, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that.
That's a good one. That's a good one
Mhm,
because before we got on, I was on Instagram really quickly and I saw a couple posts about dress code.
mhm.
Me, I'm very old school. I do like the black and white.
Sure.
I think when my salon gets to a certain level, I just like everything else, it's gonna change, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, I don't think we're there yet. Sorry if you're listening, guys. But in any case, um, yeah, I love that. I love
And
that. And that was always a thing for me. Like, if, if you can look good not in dress code, well, then look good in dress code. What are you doing? Like, just do it.
it's
But yeah,
it, but that's why I said I know we don't
pick
really
your
even want to
battles.
touch that exactly. But yeah, it's like there was this one girl in particular. If she listens to this, I love you. But she would just constantly like, Natalie, we should be able to wear like Crocs, like cute Crocs. Like, she would show me these platform ones, and I'd be like, no, 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 no. And finally I was like, you know what? If you want to wear them and they look cute, like wear them. And so, she literally has like the cutest. The other day I walked and she's like, Natalie, like come look, and cutest like platform Crocs. And, she looks amazing. Like she dresses super creative. And it's you can have people that are in dress code and have, whatever type of shoe or pants, and then they just literally woke up and threw it on. And so I was like, you know what? Just look amazing, just look amazing.
I laugh, and I feel we've been laughing a lot on this episode because, like, we get it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Hmm.
oh my God, just look like you came off the runway, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do great hair.
Yep. And
Do
just have
great.
positive energy.
Yeah.
That's such a
Yeah.
big thing, like having that positive energy. And I don't mean the fake positive energy. Everyone goes
Mm,
through shit, and we're such big believers. And we actually tell our team, like, if you have shit going on, do not leave it at the door. Now, don't bring it into your clients,
right.
but bring it in and share, like, let the team know that you're having a hard day, what's going on, so we can be there to support you. But this
Right.
old shit of leave it all at the door and come in and just, be super, fake. And yes, we have to absolutely, with our guests, if we're having a bad day, like we have to fake that, right? Because we can't affect their experience. You
Hmm.
shouldn't have to fake it with your team,
I
you
like
know?
that. Yeah. That goes on with something that I learned early on as a woman. We get that time of the month. And for the
Yes.
longest time, my mother has always been like, you need to let me know when you're going through that because I can't handle you. You're a freaking monster. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have a problem. You're
Of
yelling.
course. Yeah. In the moment, you're like, I'm
But
fine. What's your
but
problem?
you really should just be like, listen,
Hmm.
just a heads up. I
Yeah.
feel like shit.
Yeah.
So prepare. Like that
Yeah.
that's good,
And your
especially with
team
your
can
team.
support you. Now, if
Yes.
you're doing that every day, and I use this as an example, if every day, guys, you come in and you have a problem, and your team's going to get tired of that too, right?
Mhm.
Because you can't be that person, or you can be, it's just not going to work with our team.
Right.
But everyone has shit, right?
Right.
And so, everyone's going to have bad days, bad moments, horrible life experiences that happen. You got to deal with it. And just be upfront. That way, instead of people thinking like, "Oh my God, she's so lazy today," they actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
So
And
anyway, I
how
got
is
off a
your
little bit.
No, that's perfect. How is your son? How has he been affected with his mom being a boss babe?
Well, that's a really question. So I don't know how much of my history you know, but my son he's just turned 18, but he has autism.
Oh.
Yeah. So it hasn't really affected him because he doesn't really care.
Right.
So he doesn't,
Yeah.
so he doesn't really, know any different. So, that was such a big reason too. Especially at the beginning, I had so much drive to like, I've got to do this. I've got to be like boss
Yeah.
bitch. I have to like make it happen, was to provide and support him with the therapy that he needed. Like that was one of my one of my drivers. I loved what I did. I loved the business. I was like, this is so cool. But that was also underlying motivation of, I got to make shit happen, you know? Do you have kids?
I do not. I have a
Okay.
beagle.
Oh my God. Okay. I love dogs, love them. But you know, I think, you know, a lot of moms, and I'm sure you can still relate and, you know, understand as a lot of what we do is like for our kids,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
I'm just so lucky that I love what I do, but so much of what I do is for, his name's Maverick, is for Maverick, and, you know, to be able to provide him with what he needs. So in
That
that way,
makes so
I
much
respected
sense
him.
now.
Hmm.
So much sense. That's why
Yeah.
you're like, fuck this. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, girl.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like I knew in a sense, you look back and you're like, I wish it would have been so much easier, right? Like, I wish I could have had you know, his dad would have been supportive and, you know, but you know what? If that had happened, then I probably wouldn't be where I am now,
Mhm.
you know? And so I think we can all look back and those hard life lessons, you know, what's the saying? It's not happening to us, it's happening for us.
I love that one.
Right. And so
Yes.
it's really hard to think that when you're in the moment, but a lot of times you can look back and go, wow, that did fucking happen for me because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So time is going, but what is a question you wish I asked and how would you have answered?
First off, I just have to ask you, what is your sign? What sign are
There,
you?
I am like cusp of Virgo and Libra.
Okay.
It depends on the
Interesting.
year.
Okay. When's your birthday?
September 20th.
Okay. You asked such good questions. I just have to say, Krystine, I am so impressed because your questions are just so not basic. You know, they're just really good.
Thank
So
you,
impressed.
baby. Thank you.
Wow, a question that I wish you would have asked. Okay, so, you know, one of my, well, like actually my motto is live your free. So yeah, I wish you,
I love that. I love that. What is that
yeah.
about? Go.
So you can't ask the question now. That's
Sorry,
not
you're right.
fair.
You're right.
That's
You're
so
right.
not
I
fair.
totally.
You can't take my question. You know, you just jacked my question. Not fair.
That was totally like in the moment. I'm sorry. Yes,
No,
live your
that's fine.
free.
So anyway, I wish you would have asked, what is that? So what that means is basically, you know, is I just like to tell our team and just anyone obviously that I come in contact with or, you know, social media is live your free means to do and say like whatever makes you feel most alive, regardless of the consequences. And so that's the huge part is regardless of the consequences,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to be like, do what makes you feel most alive, you know. But what happens so often is, you know, first off, people don't do it, okay, because they're so scared. And I use this as an example. So um got married super young, and then I came out as gay when I was, you know, 38, 39. So yeah. So you're like, whoa, didn't know that. So,
Man,
so
I missed the
yeah,
whole episode. This we need to do this again.
we'll do another one and have a conversation over that. But
Yeah.
you know, it was really hard because, you know, a lot of people are so supported and I definitely was not in many, many ways. I will say my salon team was like fucking amazing. But I just really learned through that as in like, you have to do what makes you most alive, what makes you most passionate, regardless of the consequences, even if you lose people, even if, you know, you get hate, even, you know, if someone completely that you love shuts you out of their life, you have to take that risk. Like
Mm.
often, whatever, you know, makes you feel most alive, you're going to have a lot of people that might not support that. So you have to do it. Life's too short. Go fucking live your free, regardless of the consequences, because you know what? It's like when you're on your deathbed, I don't want to be one of those that says, oh man, I wish I would have. You know, I don't want to do that. I had someone very close to me pass away that, at like 38 and from cancer. And to see that, that really affects you, as in like, man, like fucking live your life. Like, who cares what people think as long as you're happy? Like, do it. So yeah, there you go. Live your free.
But what is it fully? Live your free
Live your free.
with
So it's do and
with
say what makes you feel most alive, regardless of the consequences.
oh, I
Mhm.
love that. Oh, it was just like mind blown. Like so many of like boom, 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 boom. Like
Yeah, well, I'm glad you like it, but I mean, and I still live it. It's not a, oh, one and done, and I'm just so
Mm,
great, perfect at it. It's what I remind myself of when I want to be more authentic and more vulnerable. It's like, what do you really want? And I get really clear on that, and then I do it, regardless of what's going to happen, because I know I'm not saying just like you just say shit and don't care about, it's not about that. It's you have to really get clear on what you want. And if you
yeah.
know, like, this is what's going to make me happy, you have to do that
Mhm.
regardless, like, regardless of what may happen. And a lot of times the worst thing doesn't even happen. But even if it does, at least you're happy.
Yeah. And you learn something from it and you're like,
Yep.
wow, I know what to expect next time, like
Absolutely. And
yeah.
you're so much more, going back to that word you said, you know, empowered. You're so much more empowered because once you do it once and you realize, well, you know what? Really wasn't that hard, or it was really hard. There was a lot of like consequences, people might have dropped me, etc. But I'm so much happier. And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's 100% correct. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, Natalie. Thank you for coming on
Oh, it
the
was such a pleasure
show
talking with you.
and
Like, you're
sharing.
amazing.
Thank you
And
so much.
seriously, so impressed with your questions. I I wish, like, I'm going to create a podcast episode just for you so I can ask you questions, because I know you don't know this about me, but I am like the question queen. Everyone says that. They're like, "Oh my God, Nelly, you're so good at asking questions." It's very unusual for me to meet someone that can ask such good questions. So impressed.
Oh my God. I am so excited. Let's
Hmm.
do it. My thing
Yeah.
is, I love people's stories. I love
Yeah. I can
knowing,
tell.
knowing people. Like,
Hmm.
oh, it just
Hmm.
thrills me the same way like growing a business and going to work every day. It just like, oh, I just love it.
You
So
love
thank you.
people. You
I
clearly love
do.
people. And
I
to me,
do.
that's probably a huge reason why you're super successful. You love people.
Thanks. Oh my
So
gosh.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, listeners, that is today. Thank you for joining the Beauty Pro podcast. Make sure to leave your ratings and reviews. And shout out to Miss Natalie in Houston. And until next time.